Hey everybody, Jen here in my kitchen. Today we're making beef stroganoff, and I'm going to take the liberty to add a bunch of vegetables to this because I think this is one of those meals that, well, basically it's meat and gravy on noodles, so let's fill it up with lots of nutritious veggies, and you won't even know the difference. You can make a veggie version of this with just mushrooms, so it would be mushroom stroganoff. I think the key to beef stroganoff is really having the beef, if you're using that. Paprika is often in stroganoff, and then the sour cream at the end to make it like a creamy kind of gravy. All right, so we're heating up a pot, and I'm gonna add some oil to this. You can do this in a slow cooker if you have one. I'll give you the recipe for that. It's all basically the same, so I'm doing it stovetop method, but if you have a pressure cooker or an Instapot, you can use that too. So the differences are a slow cooker cooks things slowly. On the stove will be usually kind of in between the slow cooker and a pressure cooker, cooks things fast. So the difference with the slow cooker or the pressure cooker though is that the liquid won't escape, so it's not going to steam off, and you're going to have to use a little less liquid. So right now I'm just putting my beef in the hot oil, and I'm going to brown the meat. So no matter what you're doing, if you are using the slow cooker method, you're still going to want to brown your meat first so it doesn't come out as like steamed gray meat that doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. So when you brown your meat, you're caramelizing it and enhancing the flavor. So we don't have to cook it through. Browning is just adding some caramelization to the outside. And while you're waiting for your meat to brown, we're going to give that a couple of minutes and turn it on another side. So while you're waiting for your meat to brown, now you can chop up all of your vegetables. So I'm going to use a whole bunch of mushrooms. I'm going to put a carrot in there, a pepper, and some onion. And when it comes to chopping up your vegetables for your stroganoff, they're going to cook for a while in the pot or in your Instapot or your slow cooker, and they're really going to cook down. So you can cut your items fairly large, including your carrot, if you like bigger chunks. If you want them to just kind of melt into the stew, then cut them up in small pieces. Okay, let's check on our beef and give it a turn. Oh yeah, it's looking nice and golden. I'm leaving my mushrooms big. I'm going to put those in at the beginning. If you like your mushrooms to have a bit more texture, you can add them in for the last like 15-20 minutes. But I like that mushroom flavor to go through the entire, I'm going to call it a stew. It's basically a stew. And we can use lots here, so this is a good way to replace a bunch of the meat. So a pound of stewing beef can go a long way when you bulk it up with vegetables, and hopefully nobody will really notice the difference. Okay, let's see how our beef is doing. It's looking nice and browned on all sides, so we're going to take it out. You can see that it's not fully cooked through, but that's totally fine. We're going to do that after. Putting it back in my dirty bowl, which is also okay because we're going to cook all of that off. And then we're gonna use the same pot to saute our vegetables a little bit. So if you're using the slow cooker method or the Instapot or pressure cooker method, you don't have to do this, but I just like to, again, add more depth of flavor by sauteing your vegetables. But you can add them in all together and then just cook it all at once. So you can see all those lovely brown bits of beef are on the bottom of the pan, and they're gonna come up with all of these lovely vegetables. So when you're sauteing your vegetables, try and scrape up those brown bits off the bottom. You don't want them to burn, so I'm just cooking this over like medium heat. Let those sweat a little bit. You can add a little bit of salt to this. I didn't season my beef, but I would suggest you season your beef before you brown it too. But we can season it after. That's a step I missed. I'm going to do a few more mushrooms because a wise person once told me you can easily triple the vegetables of any recipe and nobody will notice, or I think the fact is actually that it gets even better when you add more vegetables. You get more color and definitely more flavor. That was a very good tip from somebody who I trust very much in the kitchen. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes. Veggies are sweating down a little bit, looking like they're getting a little bit cooked. I'm going to add the beef back in and all of those juices that are in that bowl. And then I've got a mixture of some garlic powder, paprika, lots of paprika, and some flour. So the flour is going to thicken our gravy or our sauce. So that's going to go in and coat everything. And give that a good stir so it kind of gets around all of those vegetables and the meat. And we'll let it cook for about another minute. Kind of watch it so it's not getting too hot, it's not burning. Then once you smell that paprika and you smell that garlic after it's been about a minute, then you can go in with your stock. Actually, I've got some Worcester sauce as well, and you can do tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, depending on your taste preference. Or, you know, when it feels like enough, a little bit of that. I've got some leftover dill from, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it started to dry out in my fridge. So I think I might use some in here right now and then maybe garnish the top with some as well. And I'm gonna put some in right now. Dill's really nice. If you haven't, I'll give you some dried dill. This is basically what I have is dried dill now. You might still have some left over from your, lentil salad. Throw that into the mix. Okay, and then we're going to add our beef stock. But again, if you have vegetable stock or water, or I'd say even like a can of beer or something like that, that would make a good gravy as well. And I'm not measuring, so I think I'm just gonna let it kind of come up to the level of the vegetables and meat, and stir and get all of those brown bits off the side of the pot and off the bottom of the pot. Get that into your gravy. I think I'll add just a little bit more, just to barely cover everything, okay? And then we'll bring that up to a boil and then turn it right down and just let that simmer away for as long as you can. So in a slow cooker, if you've got it on low, it can be on all day long, or if you've got it on high, it'll take 3 to 4 hours. On the stovetop, you can have it, well, until your beef is tender. So it might be an hour, or you might want to keep it going for another hour after that. And in a pressure cooker, it might take about 45 minutes, maybe half an hour. It doesn't take too long in a pressure cooker. And just leave the lid on and let it go low and slow. I think that's the best option on the stovetop. So we'll be back in about an hour. Okay, so this has been stewing for 2 hours now at my house, and the beef is tender, the vegetables are definitely cooked down, and the gravy's thickened a bit. What we're gonna do at this point, while we're waiting for our water to boil with the noodles, we're gonna add about half a cup to a cup of sour cream. That's gonna thicken it a little bit further and make the sauce creamy. Stir that in, and then you'll let that come back up to a simmer again. And then we've got some egg noodles to cook, and just put them in some salted water. It's boiling, and then those cook for about 7 minutes. So while those are cooking, then our stew is going to heat back up again with the sour cream in there. You can taste it, make sure everything's cooked to your liking, and see if it needs salt or pepper, maybe a little more dill. Maybe a little bit more salt. Just a little. That's pretty good. I'm just gonna put one little right in the middle. Just kidding. Okay, so when your noodles are cooked, you just strain them out. They'll go on the bottom. And then get some of our stroganoff right on top. You could serve this with a little bit of extra sour cream on top if you like. Maybe throw a little extra dill if you've got it, or I've got some parsley just for some extra freshness and some green color. And there you have it. I hope you enjoy this. Bye.